There's not a lot of games that excites me as much as Overwatch do, and that comes because I am an Overwatch fanboy. So the fact that Valorant makes me as excited and as hype as I am for this game, for the strategy, the tactics, the meta, as somebody that is a professional Overwatch coach that works with the Pacific Contenders region and does private coaching and made way too many guides on this game, tells you a little bit about the game. So, because the kind of hidden top secret capture event has finally gotten released all their footage, I spent my entire evening yesterday watching 2 different Twitch streams at the same time, just to gain as much insight on the game. And because we are almost up to the closed beta event, which I've managed to get an account for, let's talk about the best champion or the best hero or the best operator, whatever you want to call them, in Valorant. Essentially try to make a tier list. Now, of course, this comes from somebody that has not played the game, because if you look at my subscriber number, like, please, bro, there's no way I'm getting into a top secret capture event. But as somebody that is, again, professional in Overwatch coaching, I'm very used to watching other people play and breaking it down and doing theory crafting, but I am not always right. I would love to hear your opinions if you agree or disagree. This is a brand new game, meaning nobody really knows. So I would love to hear your opinions, your thoughts about how you guys think about the tier list down in that comment section below. I read every single comment and I'm way too hyped, so I would love to hear from other people's point of views, because that's more knowledge from me, and I fucking love knowledge. Now, of course, a like on the video helps spread the video, helps against YouTube's abusive algorithm, and subscribe to the channel if you like Valorant content, general FPS, stuff like that. Want to stay tuned and so on, or generally just support me and what I'm doing here on YouTube. It's always very appreciated. In the description, there's a Discord community server if you want to join that, together with my Twitter and my Twitch, and a reference for every source of video content, essentially all footage that have been used from every other channel. I will reference those channels, of course, down in the description. Thank you guys for submitting that footage online, because, again, look at my sub count. There's no way I'm getting into a capture event. Anyway, let's begin. Let's start off with the S tier, so we get to the best in the beginning. Again, these are just the heroes that I think that you guys should maybe start gravitating towards. If you get a little bit late into the beta, then I highly recommend that you maybe want to take a look at these, because the potential of some of these heroes are just absolutely insane. Now let's start with my personal favorite, Phoenix, because he's just overall insane. He has a kit that fits every single situation, and he's just so fucking good. His abilities goes as follow. He has a flame wall, which blocks LOS, deals damage to any enemy that passes through it, and heals himself when he passes through it. This, of course, can also be kind of curved a little bit to give him a little bit more flexibility to the player about how he wants to, or essentially where he wants to block LOS. Now, a small trick with this is that it's very, very thin. So essentially, there's a gap. So if you put this up in a choke point and you don't completely put it wall to wall, there's actually a gap that you can use to give crossfire and kind of peek your own wall, which most people probably won't notice if they're brand new to the game. So you can abuse that a little bit as soon as you get your hands on this dude. He also has a curveball, which says he's a curving flashbang. You can choose which side you want to curve, and, well, that side it will fly around, and a wee flashbang. Again, so he has a LOS block that kind of works a little bit as a deterrent for some people to push through it, because it will take some damage. A curving flashbang that he then can use either alone or with this. He also had an ability called Hot Hands, which sends he's a Molotov that deals 15 damage per tick, and that is just his standard kit. And on top of this, he has an ultimate called Run It Back. Now, this ultimate lasts for about 8 to 10 seconds, approximately, and what does it, wherever you pop this ultimate, you will recall to, either at the end of the duration of the ultimate or when you hit 0 HP. So he even has an aggressive, he can play this defensively, offensively. In general, he's just really powerful because of the flexibility, blocking LOS, flashbanging areas, the area denial with his Molotov or force a rotation or force a move from the enemy team, and he can then play aggressively for 8 to 10 seconds with his ultimate if he has that available, just making him an overall powerful, good pick. Now, this one might come as a surprise for some people, and that is Sage. Sage has a couple of abilities, and the reason she's there is because of the support that she brings to the team, and always make sure that your team has the advantage, or that you yourself has the advantage, right? Gives you some counterplay towards the enemy's strategies, the way that they will deal damage and poking and trying to weaken your team for resources, but it also, because of the amount of crowd control that she brings to the table. Sage has Barrier Orb as her first ability. This essentially creates a barrier that can be broken, and she can kind of rotate so she can place it as she wants. This is a hard cover, meaning it physically blocks people from playing in that area. It also does that she can use that to, for example, take a position where she can have that cover and also create an additional angle for people to clear. This wall can be jumped over by players like JETT, which we'll talk very soon about, but in general, the fact that she can create a hard cover to physically stop something, if they want to break it, they have to break it physically, and also she can use this to lift herself up to high ground, giving her verticality so much flexibility from this one ability, everything from blocking off, creating a new angle, giving herself a boost to a high ground. There's just so much stuff that is just nice about this one ability. And that's not all of it, of course. She has Slow Orb, which is a very large AoE. If anybody plays or tries to walk inside that area, it will slow them with 70%, plus it will make their footsteps audible. Very, very audible, like a loud crunching sound. She has Healing Orb, of course, which heals herself or an ally to full health. This has a 35-second cooldown, but again, the fact that she can heal her or an ally to 35 health really just stop a lot of the poking, a lot of the CCing that is happening. Or if you, had a really, really heavy trade with somebody and you're left low health, the fact that she can just bring you up from 20, 30, 40 health all the way up to max keeps yourself or somebody else going for much longer on these longer kill streaks. Of course, this heal is balanced by the fact that it's a gradual heal, not an instantaneous heal. If you look at games like Overwatch, some heals are borderline or practically instantaneous, which does it can be very difficult to do counterplay against it. So it's a very slow gradual heal, meaning if your team is in a firefight, healing him might not do anything just because it takes so much time to get the full heal amount out. That can be maybe not the best idea. Instead, rather help with the firefight, which shows that it's not, as the same amount of healing as you get in a game like Overwatch, which I think a lot of people like about this game. Then your ultimate is Resurrection, which logically revives a teammate and puts that person to full health, which can be very nice if that was your entry fragger or somebody else just died, bringing it back. Reviving in FPS games are very, very powerful. It has been proven again and again, especially in Overwatch with stuff like Mercy Meta. Of course, yes, you can kill, but because of the pacing of this game, I think getting that revive off, and because everybody has only one health, it doesn't just keep the guy active in the fight. The fact that you can bring one of your players back alive essentially does that you're playing 6v5 as long as the Sage is either not denied the res or get fragged during the res, which is absolutely amazing. The last one on the S tier is Viper. And the reason is the fact that Viper has not just soft cover creation of LOS, the LOS denial, and can to a certain extent, but the fact that she can claim space, because it's not just denying LOS and making sure the enemy can't frag you, but it's also weakening everybody with her decay abilities. So Viper has a little bit. She has a toxic meter, which is used in two of her abilities, one called Poison Cloud, the other called Toxic Screen. And that is just essentially a way of playing out how long or the duration of these two abilities. But her very first ability is Snakebite. Essentially, she shoots a acid vial on impact, it splashes, and creates an area denial. This deals damage to everyone, including Viper if she walks into it. It deals less damage, logically, if you have armor on, but even then, it can kill somebody with full HP and armor in about 4 seconds, which is pretty darn good, right? Area denial, they can either force somebody out of cover or just stop them from pushing an area, because crossing the entire Venom takes about a second or two, which is right about half your health, just gone there trying to push into a site. Then we come to Poison Cloud and Toxic Screen, both of these which consumes this toxic meter. So, essentially, Poison Sphere creates a Poison Sphere, a circular poison area, and that blocks vision and activates decay on anyone in it. And the same goes for Toxic Screen. It creates, just instead of creating a sphere, it creates a wall, and anybody that plays in there gets decayed. Now, decay is a very special ability or kind of status effect that Viper brings to the table, which essentially does that you reduce your armor and health all the way down to 1. If you leave this area effect, you start regaining lost health and armor. But the fact is, the longer you're staying there, the easier it becomes for the enemy team and Viper to kill you, which is the power of these abilities. Again, they are limited if you pop both Poison Cloud and Toxic Screen at the same time, so you create a sphere and a wall. These will both last for a shorter period of time because your toxic meter will get emptied much faster. So you can choose one, you can choose both. It's a little bit up to the player, and the fact that you're left with these choices of either creating a wall, creating a sphere for different situation, and the fact that they work as they do with the decay, I think brings some very interesting dynamics to the game. On top of that, her ultimate, you thought Overwatch had bullshit mechanics and ultimates. Okay, listen to this shit. Large air effect, which is pretty large, that limits vision to people inside of it. Now, everyone except Viper get decayed if they play in here. Players are also highlighted on Viper's screen, so they're much easier to spot. Now, you might think, oh, okay, that's fine, right? You know, she pops it, and then we'll deal with broken ultimates like we do in Overwatch, right? We'll kite them, we'll wait them out, right? So, yeah, sure, if it's last like Bomb Diffusal, but, you know, we can just wait it out. No. This lasts forever. It lasts until the round is done. Doing that, you have an entire area that's denied by Viper. If anybody plays in there, they start losing health, they start losing armor all the way down to 1. They're highlighted on Viper, and they have limited vision, so they can't even, you know, create crossfire around each other unless they decide to stack. So everybody is essentially playing 1v1 against Viper. That is why I say Viper is a really, really powerful champion, and that's why she's the last one on the S tier list. Let's go on to the A tier. Now, just let me start out this A tier with talking about JETT. JETT is on the A tier, and the reason I put it on the A tier is, yes, if you're really mechanically good, JETT is probably really amazing for you because you can take angles, you can push angles, you can disengage, and it's all about using aim because of the general dynamic and the verticality that you have with this hero makes you dangerous because it's not just lock down your angle or create one angle of crossfire because JETT can move around it, which is really good. But it's so reliant on the individual mechanic. You can use JETT's mechanics perfectly, but if you in the end then stop missing your shots, there's not much we can do about it. So let's talk about JETT. JETT has Cloud Burst, which essentially is just a very fast smoke nade. It has a very short duration and it sticks to surfaces. Generally nice. You can use it as a quick air denial to force a 1v1 or to lock somebody out, or to even entry frag yourself, get through a choke point easier with your ability without getting gunned down, so you can start using your verticality as you please. Then you have Updraft, which essentially makes you glide upwards. Now, your shots are inaccurate while you're doing Updraft, so that's something that you have to think about. You can't just updrag and then quickscope somebody because, well, you will start missing far more shots, and there's not much you can do when the game just says no and starts missing for you. This also does, if you hold space, you will glide down as a filthy Mercy main. Now, then you have Tailwind, and Tailwind makes you dash in a given horizontal direction. Using this makes you unequip your gun, meaning, again, you will dash and the gun will unequip, so you can't dash into somebody unless you are somehow getting the drop on them and start shooting, because they will have advantage that they can start shooting first. But you can shoot and then blink or dash behind cover very quickly. You can use Updraft to take different angles, like high grounds, quickly going up there and shooting from there. You can Updraft up and then dash forward with Tailwind, taking a different angle that you didn't expect, and now you come from a different position. You might smoke somewhere else to block off LOS. That is the power of JETT when we don't talk about the ultimate. The fact that you can constantly rotate and take angles, surprising the opponents where you're fighting them, doing that you will have an advantage in the firefight. And if you're then also mechanically good, dominate in that firefight. Now, then your ultimate is Bladestone, which everybody loves because this is going to be like the montage ultimate. Bladestone essentially gives you 5 daggers. If you get a kill, you get 5 new daggers. So it's a very original, you get a kill, you get a reset mechanic. Now, each dagger deals 50 to the body and 150 to the head, meaning you one-shot people with armor to the head. Essentially, you have a kind of budget sniper rifle around you. Now, you can shoot them either individually or you can shoot all in one less accurate burst. Now, your daggers are still accurate during Updraft, which is the good thing. You have essentially 50 damage body shots or 150 headshots, and you have far more mobility because you are no longer gonna be inaccurate when you are doing your Updraft, which is really good. And that's why I said He's in the A tier. JETT is really good, but at the same time, she's very reliant on the player to have the mechanics to follow up on that mobility. Now, then we bring it over to Brimstone. Brimstone, yeah. Now, Brimstone has a lot of things. While Viper is a far more longer range, closer range actually, area denial with her so on and so on, with her toxic gases, can force people to rotate and would like to fight inside of her toxic areas. Brimstone claims space from far different ranges. Now, he has a couple of abilities which helps him do that. One is Stim Beacon, which essentially is a area effect that increases fire rate to anyone, including enemies, that is inside this. It has a lingering effect, so if you go in and out of the field, even when you leave the field, you will still have the buff for a couple of seconds, which is nice. You have an incendiary launcher, so you shoot a bouncy Molotov, which has a pretty decent area of effect, which is nice. Then you have Sky Smokes, which is the really good one, where you drop up to 3 smokes anywhere on the map with pinpoint precision. When you can just smoke off areas if you want to. Even if you're not there, you can just smoke it off. Of course, if you are there, then that helps you do this behind cover and so on. And this essentially does that. You can deny areas, you can drop an incendiary to force somebody to rotate, and then you can have damage boost on you or your teammate. So, for example, you can drop your Stim Beacon behind cover, peek the cover with Stim, and now you have advantage there. If you then had before that called in Sky Smoke to shut off his crossfire and drop the molly to force the guy to fight you by shooting this at his and bouncing this at his cover, then you all of a sudden have damage boost. There's no crossfire, so you're taking a 1v1 with somebody that is forced to peek you, which essentially gives you a free kill. Your ultimate is Orbital Strike, which is it essentially deals just insane damage anywhere on the map after a very short delay. And when I say insane damage, I mean 20 damage per tick, but the ticks happen so fast that it takes about 1 second to kill a full HP player. Now, teammates does take less damage, but if they stay inside the ultimate for its full duration, they will die as well, so watch out for those friendly fires. I can't wait to get fucking Orbital Strike by my own teammate right before I defuse the bomb. It's gonna be just absolutely glorious. Now, then for all the handsome mains, we have Sov. Sov is mainly focused on her bow. That is her primary reason to pick this champion. However, I'll just quickly go over her drone abilities. She has an owl drone, which essentially just gives you a drone that you can control. You can shoot a dart to highlight enemies while you're in this drone. Of course, while you're controlling the drone, you cannot control your character. But the drone lasts for about 10 seconds. It's a nice scouting tool and kind of getting some information. And hey, you can highlight some stuff for your team, doing that you're not completely solo one-man arming with this drone, which is nice. But again, the main priority of this hero is the bow. And that's why she's in the A tier. Because essentially, the bow has 2 different arrows. It can shoot a shock bolt or a recon bolt. It also has 4 different draw strengths. And you can choose if you want the arrow to bounce or not. All the way up to 2 bounces per arrow. Meaning you can either make it explode on direct impact, you can make it bounce once, or you can make it bounce twice so you can get some creative angles. And again, you don't have to peek enemy hardscope in your corners with your rifle or with your bow, because you can just, well, bounce stuff and utility of walls, which is a very common theme in this game by now. The bolts that you can shoot, as I said, is shock bolt, which explodes in a small radius, dealing damage. That's really what it does. It's just essentially a frag grenade. It deals some damage, weakens the enemy team, so you can take this fight much easier. Then you have recon bolt, which is the strong one. It is a large AoE sonar arrow, essentially giving you a large wall hack that will hit everybody in the enemy team, as long as they're inside the area effect, and highlight them through walls for you. So again, much easier stuff for you and your team to take them, because, well, they're just predictable. You know where they're standing, you know what angles they're holding, or you will know that there's nobody there, and you can predict that, okay, they might be rotating to a different site. Intel is just such an important part of this hero, and you can use this intel both to help your team, but also to help yourself, which is why the person is an A tier. Your ultimate is Hunter's Fury. You have 3 long-range arrow that pierces through walls. Now, you shoot one to create a AoE beam that deals damage and highlights enemies and slows them at the same time. And each bolt deals 80 damage. So it's 80 damage plus slow plus wall hacks. Plus, before this, you can recon bolt the enemy team, so they are wall hacked highlighted through everything, so you can easier see them, so that you can easier hit these through the wall 80 damage slows with wall hacks on top. It's just insane. So essentially, if you hit a shock bolt and pop Hunter's Fury, you can one-shot people. And again, it's a beam, so you can hit multiple enemies. If they stack through a choke point, Just hunt their Furies to choke point, and you can wipe up the entire enemy team in a single shot, combo with a shock bolt. So it just seems really, really fun, and the creativity of this hero just is immense. The last one in A tier is CYPHER, and that's just because of the intelligence gathering. Because intelligence gathering will be important in this game, knowing what enemies team pushing and what they're doing, and CYPHER just does that amazingly. You have Trapwire, which essentially do you can place up to 2 of these kind of mines that are invisible. If the enemy triggers it, they are highlighted for you instantaneously, and if they don't destroy the mines quickly, they will trigger and they will become dazed, meaning their screen will be all kind of wonky and weird, and the fire rate will be decreased. If you slowly walk up to a tripwire, they will become visible, but that's it. Meaning you can very easily predict it, because if they trigger your tripwire, 1, you can see them, so instantaneously will get pinged. They have their 2 choices. Either they get dazed, you peek them, you kill them, or they turn around, destroy the tripwire before it dazes them, you peek them and you kill them. So it's essentially, you force them. You know that they will, anyway, as soon as they trigger the trip mine, you have so much advantage because you know where they are, they don't know where you are, and they will either be dazed or they will be looking away from you so you can peek them for free without being hard scoped. Essentially, it's a free win. Now, your next ability is Cyber Cage, which essentially is another type of smoke. It breaks line of sight. However, when the enemy passes through it, it makes a noise so you know where the enemy is at the current time that they pass through it, which essentially gives you just, again, a little bit more intel gathering when you're doing this these kind of peaks. So it's a little bit easier to hard scope them through the smoke. Then you have Spy Cam, which essentially gives you a camera that you can place and control almost like in Rainbow Six Siege, and just general nice for intel gathering. And then you have Neural Theft. When someone has died, you can ult their body within 17 seconds, and if you do so, you highlight the entire enemy team for a short duration, which is just, again, a general nice thing to have. And I generally like this guy just because intel gathering that is also able to be used in an offensive manner. It's not just passive intel gathering, it's very active in the way that it's being done. And I think that a lot of people will be playing this. I think this guy will be very irritating to be played against, because I think that a good Cypher can not just help his team, but can single-handedly get so many cheesy picks just of forcing people to not know where he is speaking, but that he knows where you are at all times. And I think that will be very frustrating for people, and one of the reasons that Cypher mains probably be hated, because it will probably be the reason that I'm still stuck in low elo in this game. Now that was all for the A tier. Let's go over to the B tier. Now in the B tier, I put Breach. The reason is, I just think that Breach has a lot of good characteristics, a lot of good things you can do with him, but he's also somewhat limited to the weight, just because of the wind-up time for some of his abilities. And that's why he is not in the A tier, because I think Brimstone just brings far more flexibility to the table compared to him. Now, Breach is your overall just insane CC guy. Now, note that some of his abilities can only be used by shooting them through a wall. No wall, no ability. His abilities are Aftershock. You use this ability at a wall, and after a short charge time, it will go through the wall in a large area of effect and deals, well, a lot of damage. Really nice for dealing damage to either somebody that's camping, holding an angle, pushing for a choke point. You get the memo. Weakening them so they're easy to just kill. His second ability is Flashpoint. It's used just like Aftershock to shoot it through a wall, but instead of this, it is just a quick flash. So you shoot it through the wall, you travel through the wall, flashbangs the entire enemy team, and then, well, you normally peek them, and you fuck them up. Limited to them actually having to push, you actually need to have the knowledge. I would also think that there are some significant sound cues for this happening, and because of the charge up time, it might be good, but I'm just questioning how easy it would be to pull off without team support, and that's of course the thing. It's a solo queue game, or for the people that won't be playing this competitively, how good will this be by a single individual player doing some of these abilities? Now then he have a really good ability called Fault Line. You no need to use this on walls, you can use this outside of walls, but they also just travel through walls. Essentially, you make a shock wave of some sorts, and that dazes any target hits, meaning again, their screen is kind of wonky and their fire rate is decreased. This is really good, again, at dealing with choke points. So you can see this. He's generally really good at dealing with choke points. Aftershock shoots through, deals a lot of damage. Flashpoint flies through a wall, flashes anybody that was pushing through the choke point and looking that same way. Fault Line CCs everybody, or can daze everybody stuck in a choke point. He's really good at dealing with these choke points or general areas then that you would need to clear. Now then he has his ultimate, which I just love. I think it's the coolest ultimate in the fucking game. And that's Rolling Thunder. Rolling Thunder is just an oversized fault line. You make a large wave that rolls out. Anyone hit, including teammates, gets dazed and not pushed backward. Now the fact that you're hitting a team, we will see how irritating or how not irritating that will be. But again, that's why he's only in the B tier. I think that he's lacking a little bit of flexibility, and I think there's some really good stuff you can do. I just don't think that he's as flexible as some of the people in the A tier and some of the people in the S tier. Now, we come to the C tier with the very last hero, and that is Omen. Now, Omen has a very interesting kit that I think can be really good, and I think if you are individually very mechanically gifted and you have a lot of game sense, you can make Omen just super scary. But again, it is the fact that the kit doesn't help the player that much compared to other heroes in this game, which can flash and stun and deny LOS and so on in a much more powerful way in some sorts then. So, Omen is a flanker, it's assassin, backline motherfucker who will probably be a pain in the ass if you're really good on him. You have Shrouded Step, which after a short casting time allows you to TP a very short distance. It gives audio clues, so they know that you were on the right side, for example, TPing to the left. Or that you were behind this crate, TPing somewhere else. So they don't know where you went, but they know, as long as you don't see where you teleported to, but they know that you used your ability where you were standing. Which gives away part of the thing that you were doing. Especially if you were stuck in a corner, they know that you might have teleported, well, it can be obvious that you teleported, for example, just straight across to the next cover, which at that point ruins some of it. You can use this to take certain high grounds or certain corners, which can be nice. However, you cannot peek with this ability. As so some people trying to do that, where they TP'd up to crates and up to high grounds or into windows to try to peek the enemy team, but it gives a very good particle effect that you're doing this. So enemies will just hard scope and wait until you appear and just gun you down before you can react to it. Which does that this is not very good for that. It's far more a movement tool either when you're stuck or to take a position that will give you a very surprise angle, which can be very nice and probably will be one of the main things you would do it to, is just to set up these powerful angles. Now, next ability is Paranoid, which I actually love. I think this is very creative. It shoots a projectile that travels through walls. If it hits an enemy, it limits their vision. It's kind of like a budget curveball, a budget flashbang, right? Instead of completely blinding them, it creates this kind of sphere around them so they can't see very far. They can still see and still orient it, but they're at least not, you know, they can't really accurately shoot at you. So again, it's a budget flashbang. Then you have Dark Cover, which is essentially a long-range precision smoke nade. Just like something similar that Brimstone has, except that this guy only shoots one of these long-range precision smoke nades. And that's fine, but that's also one of the reasons that I don't think that he's that far up, because I don't really understand why you would... That one precision smoke nade can be really, really good, and you will use it with your ultimate, but it's just limited compared to stuff like Brimstone. And you don't have a flashbang that's as good as Phoenix, right? And your movement is worse than JETT. So he has a little bit of everybody's kit, which can probably be some flexibility in that, but just his abilities is not as powerful as some other heroes in this game. Now, your ultimate is actually insane. From the shadows, essentially lets him just TP just anywhere on the map. Just like, you know, anywhere on the map. So if you use Dark Cover, you get a long-range precision smoke nade, which you can just teleport to paranoid somebody, and then you can TP out of your own smoke to take a different position that they didn't expect. If you know, of course, the map layout well enough that you know where you can TP to, right? So you can use that combo, and that's probably a team wipe. You can do some really creative shit with it, and I can't wait to see people pick him up. I just think that he, right now in the cast, might be on the weaker side, at least from a theoretical standpoint. Outside of the fact that you could do stuff like pick up a diffuser and pretend that you're planting on B and then teleport to C, right? You can do some of these like debates, right? Or if you were covering, you know, A side and they went B side and you need to get there, you can quickly group up with your team and that won't reduce it. But that's, you know, then we're playing him around his ultimate, which again is something that we're trying to avoid because we want to play stuff out from their kits, and then their ultimates are just good additions to that. If they have a horrible kit, then why not pick somebody that can consistently do more throughout the game without being too reliant on that ultimate ability. But again, if you made it to the end of the video, say fucking, I don't know, say fish in the comment section so I know how many of you guys made it to the video. I don't know how you guys like this Valorant content. I will probably continue making it. But as always, liking, commenting, and subscribing. It really does help out against the algorithm and supports the channel. the Discord server for the community, my Twitter, my Twitch, link down in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys very much. My name is Joel, and you guys, as always, keep the enemy in your crosshair.